Welcome, everybody, to the After Dark Show. I'm Don Rogers. Tonight, we're going to explore where destiny meets the soul. As we explore soul contracts, I want to mention that this episode came about in a bit of a different way than normal. Normally, when I see someone talking about something and I reach out or I get in a discussion with the person and realize this is a great subject that others might be interested in or have questions. Tonight, however, came about in a bit of a different way because a lifelong friend of my beautiful wife, Kyla, is just starting to explore some of the subject matter that we talk about here on the show due to some of recent fundamental shifts in her own reality, and asked Kyla if I had ever done a show specifically on soul contracts. And no, I hadn't. And I started to consider who to reach out to because over the last couple of years, I've met hundreds of very, very intelligent people. And Kyla immediately suggested tonight's guest. So joining me again is a good friend of mine from right here in Alberta. She is an author and a public speaker, Joy Child of the Universe. Joy Child, thank you for joining me.
Hi everyone, how are you?
I'm
Thank you for
gonna,
being on your show
I'm just
again.
gonna,
I greatly appreciate it.
yeah, I'm just gonna tell everybody because we're rural and I'm running off my hotspot. We're gonna try not to step on each other, but I do have a like 2 to 3 second lag, so I do apologize. That is on my end, and we're gonna do our best here because Joy Child has done an amazing amount of research in a very short period of time, and I think she's absolutely knocked it out of the park. So, what we're gonna cover tonight is soul contracts. Um, you know, are they real? How do they work? What do they mean to our everyday lives? So I guess the best way to start off, and Joy Child, I know you've done a lot on this, so if I'm not going the right way, I'm gonna just let her rip. I guess the first thing I would lead into is who exactly drafts and negotiates a soul contract.
Well, okay, I've got that information. The, but first of all, I'd like to say that a lot of this information that I've collected over the past couple of weeks, I have had to make a lot of notes, and I've got about 9.5, 10, 11 pages of notes. You see me looking on the side, I'm going to be looking at my notes and reading them because there's so much information, and that rings true to your heart, hold on to that. If it doesn't ring true to your heart, just let it go and move forward, move on, because that's information that's not pertinent to you at the time. But anyways, what I'd like to do is, as I was asking the questions and researching information regarding soul contracts, I learned something very interesting, is that scientific community has stated that there is no known scientific studies that can be confirmed or denied that there was ever anything called soul contracts, blueprints, destinies, pre-birth planning, whatever you want to call it. They can't do that. And at the same time, we're talking about things that happen out in the universe where the energies are way better than what they are here on Earth. So, unless you happen to be like Dr. Raymond Moody, actually, does studies like this, then scientifically they're not going to be able to be valid. And to believe in soul contracts is has been common. Uh, Everybody calls them differently. They call them frameworks, blueprints, whatever you want to call them. And it's a search for the wisdom, the understanding, the coming coming full circle type of deal. When you have eyes to see and ears to hear, you will find the truth, and you hold it in your heart with love and compassion. It's a huge history of soul contracts. Ben had done a QHHT session with Michelle, friend, and she had I had asked some questions about soul contracts. Unfortunately, it wasn't really coming through on the sound, so unfortunately, we won't be able to use that tonight. But the history, it goes back from way before the beginning of time in this universe, and then in circa 5 CE, the Greek philosopher Plato introduced this concept in his book The Myth of in the Republic, where souls choose their next lives before being born in this physical realm again. Plato believed that the soul is eternal and exists before it enters the physical body, and the is only on the plane of existence for a short time. Because the soul existed before birth into that we are right here, right now, Plato argued that acquiring knowledge isn't learning something new, but rather recollecting, or what we like to call nowadays is things like justice, beauty, goodness, integrity, and impeccability. And that the soul knew before it was bound to this. It viewed all the physical realms as the school for the soul. And as the souls we are, we have all volunteered to come into this physical learning experiences, understandings, knowledge, and wisdom. It is our true purpose in life with choices that we make, and we are governed by passion and desires with reason, and to determine the quality of life that comes in. And with that, we have the circle of life, which is um, life, death, and rebirth.
I
Does
love
that
where you're
help a little
going.
bit?
What's that?
I said, does that help a bit?
It absolutely does. And I'm going to go right back to the very beginning of your first point. And this is something I've learned, you know, when you get into the material science versus the spiritual, for the large amount of time, material science is going to completely deny anything is actually functional in what we believe in the spiritual realm. And, we could get into the whole thing as to that's why the ether was taken out, and that's why quantum physics is just figuring out the science of spirituality. But I absolutely see, like, if you go straight material science, for the most part, it will never actually confirm or deny anything in the spiritual community.
Well, yeah, and it's just like the UFOs or the UAPs, whatever they decide to call them. Are they real? Well, yes, our brothers and sisters from the skies, right?
Yeah.
It's like saying um, because we're here on this planet, there's no other life that exists. Well, that's just ludicrous, really.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So
Okay. So,
I do have from uh, Dolores, and I did find in my research that, and of course, she did QHHT, which is quantum, what is it? Quantum healing hypnosis technique. And she had discovered that there has been 3 waves of beings coming to this planet to, or Mother Earth, whatever you choose to call her, to help raise the energies, frequencies, and vibe back to the fifth dimension. And this is part of our contracts that we have. And the first wave of people being born here on the planet were in the late 1940s to the 1950s. Now, before that, the elevated consciousness on this planet was from Lemuria, of course, and they were, and that was, of course, before Earth fell to the third dimension. And then, as I think as it was falling, that's when Atlantis started appearing. So the conscious levels have not been as high as they are, or as high as they're forming now, since the fall of Atlantis. So now in the late 1940s and 50s, those beings that were born in on this planet, when they became of age, that's when you had the flower power going on, and everybody doing the wild and crazy things, smoking the hoochie coochie type thing and what have you. And they were all about peace and love for everyone. And it really didn't matter the color of your skin or where you were from or what religion that you were. So that was the beginning stages of our consciousness levels rising and expanding. And then the second set of souls that were born, they were born between 1960 and 1970. And Dolores Cannon calls these channelers of energy. And most of them strongly prefer to work alone. These are like living antennas, and they don't have anything specific. Their energy helps to change the world around them. And they love the opportunity for solitude. And I am one of those beings. I definitely love my solitude. And then the third wave of being born here on this planet were in the 1980s. And these souls came in with altered DNA and advanced gifts. So any gifts that you and I have is almost like looking back at the 1930s and 40s. It seems a little barbaric, right? The way they lived compared to what we're coming into. And they are highly intuitive, creative, and can easily recognize when people are lying or they're faking their persona. And now in the 2000s, the new souls coming to the planet now have no previous Earth karma, so they're coming here being untrapped from the wheel of reincarnation, which is of death and rebirth. So those are pretty lucky beings.
Well, yeah, like we've learned about the karmic cycles and discussed it before. And I love the comparison of the old versus the new, because we were talking about this before the show. I've actually spoke to some people in their late teens and 20s, and like it is their understanding at that age versus how long it took me to wake up and gain the understanding, and other people that I've spoken to in the same age bracket as you and I and people in their 30s. It is almost like the difference between like VHS or Betamax and DVD, right? Like it really is that different, clear of reception quality. Like you don't have that grainy tech anymore. It's like they just know. And hello, Michelle.
Oh, I have changed that. Pop back. Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Now I can see everybody. I didn't know about comments. Hello. Yeah, it's like people that are born in the, since the 1940s, our generations have had the opportunity to see it all. I mean, for instance, I remember 78s. I remember reel to reel. I remember, when CDs came out and VHS and DVDs and, all those kinds of things, as I'm sure many of your audience do. And these kids nowadays, it was really funny. I was talking to a friend, and I think it was when Kyla was over here, and I said, one thing that I find really funny is the kids nowadays go to this brand new song. It's so cool. It's so awesome. And it's just like, yeah, no, that song came from the 70s. That was written by Aerosmith, by the way.
Yeah. It's awesome because with William being a drummer, he's doing the same thing. And we actually literally just ran into this. He's like, "Oh, you have to listen to this." And it's like, "Oh, you finally found like the 90s horrible remixes of all the 70s songs, right?" Because now they're remixing the remixes on top of the remixes. And it's like, there is I can't say the word. It's all a big circle. And some
Yes.
of this stuff definitely coming back in.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Uh,
So with um go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say one of the things that I wanted to get into, if you have it there, is how do soul contracts account for free will?
Oh, well, let me just go through my many notes here and I'll
Yes,
find the
absolutely.
subject. Oh, here we go. So, um, free will, you always have will by shaping your path. The events, people, and your core challenges have been agreed upon for incarnation. How you respond to them is where your free will, that is your card. Every illness, heartbreak, an encounter. I got mosquitoes flying around here.
Oh,
An encounter that pulls your life into a new direction. Just, you think happened by chance or randomly. It's all by divine design. So soul contracts are very intricate. They're very elegant, and they're deeply personal for you, not
yeah.
but for you. So your soul is your soul drafted your contract. There's loss, disconnection, rebirth, and none of it. I want you to hear this. None of it is to punish you. It is to push you and to remind you of truly who you are underneath the layers of illusion and conditioning. So remembering that you are a soul in a physical body, and that means your soul and your physicalness is one. So as you physically evolve, so does your soul. So that's part of these contracts, is not just elevating this physicalness, also to evolve spiritually with souls.
That makes sense.
And free will also. Okay.
No, that was the lag. I apologize. Go ahead.
Okay. So free will helps you to decide how to move across the playing field of life. And this is your power. Your soul gives you structure, and the human side of you gives your shape. So contracts are about possibilities. They're not contracts. I not get so with any contract that you have, you can reshape, you can rewrite them, can let them go, depending on your consciousness levels, your inner work, what you're doing, what you're thinking, how you're evolving. You know, it all comes together. So there's sometimes where contracts are outdated as you evolve in your awareness, and some are rewritten entirely unconsciously. And through major transformations that you do consciously and physically, you know, mentally, physically, and when you step up to a new level of awareness, old agreements that no longer match your vibration automatically dissolve. So as you become more aware of situations and circumstances in your life, more you're going to evolve and raise your own vibration.
Okay. And that actually leads nicely into the next thing I wanted to ask, if you have it there. Um, what triggers the renegotiation, and what are the spiritual consequences or opportunities if somebody consciously tries to override a pre-existing contract?
Okay, I just got to find that. Oh, here we go. Okay, so uh, renegotiation of contracts. So there are some contracts that will be lifelong, while other contracts will be completed once your lesson has become integrated within you. There are some contracts that need to be renegotiated through your inner work, your conscious intentions, and the healing process that you have chosen to integrate into your awareness. So patterns keep repeating in your life until you learn the lessons. And it's that hamster going round and round and round until you finally say, I think it's often to look within, right? So that's when that happens. And it's like having the same kind of relationships or self doubt, moments where you fall apart, everything falls apart in your life when you feel like everything's finally starting to come together. And this happens because the soul wants to finish what it started. And it is not because you are cursed, it's not because you are lucky, it is not because the universe has it out for you. Those are all things that we've been programmed to believe and programmed to understand, which is false. And a lot of things on this planet that we have been programmed to believe are false. So that's why doing the inner work is very important with any life. And the more you go within, the more you're going to find and understand.
That makes sense. What role do challenging or painful relationships play in soul contracts?
I'm not sure I got that one. Repeat the question again.
What role do challenging and or painful relationships play in a soul contract? And I think you may have just covered that. It's basically it's people providing lessons.
Yes, everybody provides you a lesson that you need to learn. Soul tracks are designed by our. Let me go back to the beginning here where I've got my notes.
Yeah.
And okay, here it is. So the purpose of soul contracts, they're designed and orchestrated, structured in a non-physical space of loving energies. So contracts are not written in ink, they are written in high level energies, and the level of energies that where they're formed is so much higher in vibration than it is on Earth here, because we're only third dimension going into the fourth. We're probably midway in the fourth, going to the fifth. But where these contracts are produced, it's written in the realm of pure consciousness, and there is nothing forced. Everything is chosen. So some contracts are called frameworks and blueprints, and a lot of people that understand blueprints, when you're building a home or any kind of structure, blueprints are blueprints. You can change them all the time. So your soul then chooses a variety of for you when you are going through different experiences. So it's like a fork in the road, right? So you can B or C, and you're going to have different things that occur. There are going to be similarities along the way. Time, we don't really know that for sure, because once again, no scientific data. So, but we always have choices, and that's part of our free will. And it has to be that way, because otherwise, if you will, you're just a robot, right? So, this place where the soul contracts are designed, it's not a place called heaven. It's a place called that we call the spirit realm, or the astral plane, or the in-between place where souls incarnation. And this is a dimension of pure awareness where the truest self can be heard without interference from the lower energies. So this energy is so high in its energies, frequencies, and vibrations that lower energies would not even be able to there. And yes, I use the word try.
Well, no, and that's actually something when I was going through my whole awakening, I came across some other reading, and it referred to it as something called Braham, and basically where that is the ethereal realm that the soul waits to be blown back into a body at the agreed upon time. And this is, I think it was a Middle Eastern culture I was reading about, where I learned about that concept, which is very similar to what you're talking about. So it's neat that the North American understanding is very close to something that's across the world. So this does resonate throughout our reality. It's just worded differently in different cultures.
Oh, absolutely, it is. We're all information, and the same energy. Like the space where the energy is flowing, that's when you're going to get information that's all very similar. There are differences in different places, different cultures. At the same time, they're all speaking very similarly to the others, right? Um, I'm not a big person on, say, Catholic religion, because of their stifling. They still believe in reincarnation. So do the Buddhists and the Hinduism and the native cultures. I've everywhere around the world, and I there are some religions that are out there that and they've said when I've talked about reincarnation, getting their perspective. Oh, no, no, no. We only have one life and this is it. And it's just like, oh, you need to open up your eyes because there's a lot more to this game. Not complete everything in one life. Um, you know, I don't care who
There
you are.
there was I will
Oh,
say,
we
like,
got thunder.
oh shit. I will say, I've said this before, my understanding of reality has fundamentally shifted over the last couple of years. And like, I used to believe, like, okay, ghosts are real, but I really wasn't big on, the multiple lifetimes thing. But once you start to understand it on a level of, going through the work, I've said it on the show before. I've had a very rough upbringing this time, and I understand why. And I would not trade anything I went through in my contract up to now because I can see where I'm going. It just took 48 years to get through all the shit that I had to get through. And now my life is basically under my own control because I've released all of these contracts throughout, you know, trials and tribulations and traumas, because that's the bargaining chip in this whole thing. Is you have to settle that energy, you have to balance the books, so to speak. And when you get there, you start to become more in control of your own reality instead of going by the script of the contract.
Right, right. And also, so soul contracts are not new to this world, and we're talking about the and what have you. It's been mentioned through mystic traditions across time, so time can go back for a lot longer than what we could probably imagine. And there have been Hermetic teachings, philosophy, Gnostic wisdom teachings. There's certain schools with Hinduism and Buddhism that develop concepts on rebirth and karmic consequences across lifetimes. Um, Shamanic vision quest, and they've all spoken about contract. They've all in certain forms and what have you. And the philosophy, the wisdom that are going on now regarding soul contracts are being diluted by pop spirituality or have been dismissed entirely by some modern minds to help distract us from noticing the design that's beneath all the chaos. So, and all this chaos that's around us is lower energies wanting us to stay under their guardianship. Um, Keep those chains on those ankles. Don't set them free because wow, like we can't go to the fifth dimension with Mother Earth, and we can only stay. So it's your choice. Do you want to stay here or do you want to evolve? Do you want to go um, higher with your consciousness, expanding it? Yeah, and
I'm
the design is created by our guides, our higher self, our oversoul, councils of souls that are wiser than what we could imagine, that are there to help, and part of that is our soul families and our soul group. And every being in light comes together to orchestrate as best as they can for us. And, sometimes some people will be here for a short time. So it all depends on what their part of the contract is with you as well as their own contract, right?
Yeah. Um, You talked about the distraction there, and that's something I've mentioned too, because I do believe there is an overlay in this reality that has a lot to do with the interference. And basically, it's to keep people as the player instead of realizing that you're actually the programmer of this game, right? You are the living programmer of this reality. And if you keep going through the daily life, you never will realize that you had far more control over everything that goes on here than you were ever taught or would have realized. And it is all that distraction, it is all that noise, that chaos that keeps you from realizing the authentic nature of your soul and being.
Correct. Yeah. I've talked to many people over the years, and with doing this research on soul contracts, um a part of me has always been talking about, and then as I'm doing the research, it's like, well, okay, I knew all this, or I knew a good majority of this before, and I am so grateful that you did ask me to do this because it's helped to remember what I need to remember and to refreshen everything, because there's did not know it all. So that helps me to remember everything. And I also remember when I was younger telling people, you are the actor in your life play. You are you are the screenwriter. You are the music in your life. You are all of it. Every piece of it. It's your life. You need to do whatever it comes from your heart. And that's the first place that you from is from your heart. And then you can listen to your gut. And when you follow your heart, and you're going to have the bumps in the road always, because that's how we learn. Because for some reason we've also been programmed to believe that life has to be hard, has to be challenging, because if it isn't, we're not going to learn. In reality, life, it's supposed to be easy, to be smooth, with a little bump here and there, and that's all a part of our awareness.
I I love that because that's something Kyla and I have talked about before. Is like it seems like some of the lessons that we're getting in the societal construct that we have to live in right now are way beyond the natural law of like cause and effect and proper repercussions for a simple action. It seems like the last few generations have just had an absorbent amount of negative consequences doled out to them by society. And what you just said there absolutely makes sense. Is like it really does seem like that we're here, but there's something else being put on top of us, I believe. And that's just my own personal belief, and I won't ramble about it, but it's just something I've kicked around in my own head. Um,
Yeah, well, it's all a
but
part of our too. So
yeah, and I love one of the things you touched on there is like I use it as an inner dialogue. I call it my lie detector. Is that heart, brain, and gut connection? Because that is really one of our best guides through this reality. You know, if you can align those three pillars within yourself, you can help yourself navigate this contract, this reality, these tests, these traumas so much more easily. You literally just have to trust within yourself, and that's your best guide.
absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And everything happens for a reason. Like, okay, here I've got right in front of me. Oh, let's do this one. We'll do karma. How about these are things like alcohol. Okay, yep, yep. So, anyways, karma. You know how everybody, oh, karma is a bitch. You know, everybody says that, and I'll tell you through my research on this subject, I now have a new understanding. So, karma is not about punishment. It has been one of the most misunderstood circumstances passed around in the spiritual circle, has been weaponized driven thinking. Now that's got to tell you a lot right there, because that's a mouthful. Karma is all about correcting. It's the universe recalibrating and bringing things. We are here to grow and expand in our awareness. Karma is all about compassion, which gives you the opportunity to respond with truth. It provides you the opportunity to choose a different kind of response to any situation. And there's always a solution for every problem that you seem to encounter. So karma can be carried over into lifetimes and in life cycles. These are not chains that bind you, ever. These are agreements that need to be fulfilled. So karma is not the bitch that everybody has said karma is. So for me, that put a brand new perspective on it. And I'm not looking at it as, oh, well, karma's a bitch anymore. Because now I've just had my eyes opened.
No, that really resonates, and I see like where you're supposed to sort through these things, and that leads into the next thing I wanted to ask you is how can someone discover or remember the details of their own soul contract, because that has a lot to do with this karmic debt system, is like the generational I guess it's the generational renewal of certain contractual agreements that you've made in past lives. Is like, how can somebody find the details of those?
Well, you can find the details. Uh, it's actually easier than what you would think it would be. Um, Through my friend Michelle King, QHHT. That is one of the ways you can do that, where she goes through the quantum healing hypnosis technique, and she is a practitioner. She is very good. And you can go that route, or you can go to somebody that is maybe does, oh, what are those records? The
The
Akashic
Akash.
records. Yeah, Akashic records. Contacting a natural or a shamanic healer that you vibrate with. So when you're searching for a practitioner, again, you have to go with your heart. Listen to what your heart says. Like, that's how I met Michelle. I was looking through the QHHT website and looking for people that were around in my area. And it was like a book falling off the shelf. Her just went poof straight into my face. And it's just like, oh, okay. These are the signs and the symbols. So we'll get into signs and symbols later. But when that happens, to me, that's a sign that, okay, this is the one you need to experiment with, because this life is all about an experiment too. So always go that you vibrate with, because they'll help you with your requests or your inquiries so that you have greater understanding. Practitioners are not here to tell you how to do things. They're here to help guide you and teach you, and maybe they possibly have similar circumstances as what you're going through and can guide you a little more. Yes, we are soul sisters. Um, and Nobody is here to be your guru. They help you. But once you start getting into that guru phase and bowing down to them, that's when you got to stop and go, what am I doing here? Why am I doing this? You know, yeah, no, you got to question things. Always question things. So, and as you start doing your own research, listening to your body's responses and accepting guidance that has been provided for you, our guides send us people or send us in the directions that we need to go to get either the help or somebody to just listen to what you're saying and to be a sounding board. They don't have to always tell you what you need to do. And I mean, like, there's many channelers out there. There's videos on YouTube. There's healers. You got to work with what resonates with you, because if they don't resonate with you, then you're basically hitting your face against the wall, like Ben said in his channeling from Ashtar Command. And how many times are you going to hit your face with the wall before you're going to stop?
Yeah. No, that makes sense. It's almost like listening to a radio station you don't want to listen to anyway. And you mentioned soul families earlier, and then Michelle just said about being soul sisters. It just ties in as well. Do souls often form soul families or soul clusters with shared contracts and people that you'll experience? Like I've met certain people, and I swear I know them from past lives or other realities or future lives, because anybody that's watched my show knows that the reason I woke up is I had a multi-dimensional consciousness experience. But like, is there groups of people that you just naturally resonate to?
Absolutely, there is. You've got soul families, you've got soul groups. Some incarnate and some choose to stay on the other side to help guide you along. My great grandfather, he crossed over when I was 4 years old, and he was, even though I only remember a few years with him, they were very strong and very powerful years. I know that even though he's got much work to do on the other side, he's still here. So whether they're in the physical or in the physical or the unknown realms, they're still with you. And when you're making up these contracts, like I said, there's some people that are going to be here for a short time in your life, and there's some people that will be here for a longer time in your life. So it all depends on their, as well as their own contract, what you've chosen to resonate with and grow from. So it all depends.
So, how do cultural, religious, and societal beliefs influence the interpretation after your reading? Like, we were talking about this a bit earlier. Like, do you think that other cultures or other places in society interpret soul contracts differently? I guess is the question I'm trying to get at.
Well, I can't answer for them. I can only speculate. And what I would say is that they're it's like they're all the same, but they're different. Like you and I can look at the same identical and have two different responses from that. So that's kind of how I would look at that situation. That each person, for that matter, has a different perspective than another person. And yet there's similarities. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does. And it's a theory, principle that I jumped into a while ago. Everybody in this reality is actually living their own version of reality, because like, to me, I'm a different person than how you would see me, or Kyla would see me, or Ben would see me. Each and every person that I interact with in this reality sees me as a different version of myself, right? It doesn't mean I'm any of
Right.
them, and I'm quite possibly all of them at the same time, right? So it really
Right.
does, like, it's all on your perception of the thing or person from your own point of observation. So no, that does make an absolute lot of sense.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And it's not this one particular life that you are in. You are also in many other your past lives, which are now, your parallel lives, which are now, your future lives, which are now. Everything is now. So when you add that perspective to your mindset, it for me it really helps because I find that there's so many vast situations and circumstances that can all mold together.
So
Does that make
that
sense?
it really does, because like I've experienced the overlays and the different. Yeah. Um, one of the things I wanted to ask, because it goes into the whole karmic debt thing, is what happens if a soul fails to fulfill a key part of its contract?
Okay, let me find that one and we'll get right back to you. Oh, by the way, Michelle had sent me this picture that's behind me on my green screen, and this is my Uber. You'll see my brothers and sisters in the sky. I just thought I'd add that in.
Yes.
So, fulfilling your contract, nothing and no one is coming to save you. You are the only one to save you. And how is this done? This process is done by raising your awareness and conscious levels. The choice has always been yours to choose. We are all here as co-creators of our own life instead of being led by others. Every mistake or misstep that you have is all about opportunities that you have chosen for alignment, a greater perspective, and clearer understanding. So when you awaken every morning, start asking yourself, what do I choose to experience today? And do this for about a month and see what happens. If you have to, have a little notebook down, you know, and then in the evening time before you go to bed, write down those experiences that you had. See how that changes your your outlook, your feelings, your perspectives. Uh does this question make your heart sing? You know, does it make you feel like you want to get out of bed and live for the moments that are ahead of you? Or do they make you feel like you want to just go back in under the sheets? Because when you crawl back in under the sheets, you're avoiding. So free will does not contradict your soul contract. It it fulfills them. So every time you choose love over fear, growth over comfort, truth over convenience, you activate and unlock your contract with remembrance, alignment, and liberation. The more you understand the structure of your soul contract, the more freedom you actually gain. Awareness creates space and clarity creates choice. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Um, so where I would go from there is, if everything is contracted for our soul's growth, how should we approach things that happen in our daily lives, like suffering and tragedy and apparent injustice? Because we all do have big and like micro and macro versions of this in our day-to-day lives. Like, yeah, how would we really approach that?
Okay. Well, I have to find my paper here.
Yep. It's a huge subject, and we're
so,
actually
yeah. So with that, that to me would possibly represent, major events and triggers in your life, right? So in this earthly realm, you choose your parents, not because they're perfect, but because they would trigger what is needed to awaken within you. So you choose your lovers, your friends, and you even choose your enemies. And not for but for the challenges, for the transformations, and to complete your karma, to become liberated with truth, to realize the true meaning behind all these situations and circumstances. And once you begin seeing the situation for what it truly is, you are no longer bound to that situation. The change, and when you have learned these lessons, you can move forward onto the next lesson, and so on and so forth. This is how major happen in our lives. This is how the soul contracts work in our lives. And there are agreements with people that are in our physical life right now, and they are the ones that love you, and they are also the ones that will break you. There's a point in the agreement that when it's being constructed, you as a soul would say something to the effect of, I need to learn how to forgive betrayal. Would you play this role for me? And because that other soul loves you so much, they are willing to play the villain in your story in this physical realm. So that's how I see it. And and that's how sacred and complex these contracts are. In this realm, you get to orchestrate all your fears, your desires, your betrayals, your every moment of bliss, despair, your struggles. Why? Because your soul wants to understand that your evolution requires these experiences for your personal growth. So, and the reason for this grand design is to help you evolve, to raise your consciousness levels, and to remember who you truly are, and for you to grow into that sovereign being that you have always been. So, remembering that you chose your body, even if it carries pain, you choose your family, even if it's dysfunctional. You choose certain circumstances like poverty, illness, limitation, emotional and or mental abuse, not because you wanted to suffer, but because your soul saw that the growth that you would be making and what was hidden behind the struggle. So your soul will help you to remember who you truly are. So when we have things like grief and someone crossing before their time, it is very sad in the physical. At the same time, when you look at the greater picture and the greater scope of why these things, these situations, these circumstances have occurred in our life, why did we choose that? Like I've had friends that, in conversation, I've said, well, you chose your family. Oh, well, why would I choose my family? They're so dysfunctional. Like that, I would never choose a family like that. And you did. You did, though. That's why you were in that family. So what did you learn from that family? What kind of growth are you receiving from those memories of struggle or strife, or if somebody mentally, physically, emotionally abused you, was that because in your contract you had said, I don't I want to learn what I need to do to past the victim consciousness level? Who's here to help me? So you may get one being that says, I'll volunteer. You be that volunteer. So it all depends on that contract. It's how you recognize, see the truth behind the rose-colored glasses, say. Does that make sense?
It really does, and you summed that up beautifully. And I'm gonna ramble here for a minute because before you got into that, Michelle had asked for me to give an example, and I can think of none better than my very own life. I was born to drug addict, abusive parents, and then my parents split up when I was about 3 years old. And for a brief period of my life got better. My mom married my stepdad. She was just a drunk instead of a drug addict for quite some time, and then my dad was taken away. Like the guy who raised me was taken away, and for years I could not wrap my head around what I had done to deserve to like finally have some semblance of peace and organization in my life, just to have it taken. Like my dad died at my age, right? My dad died when I was 7 or 18 and he was 48, right? And I felt so slighted by reality. I was like, holy shit, I spent the first 3 4 years of my life being physically abused and beaten, and then I had to visit the man who did it, and my mother was still a drug addict, and like my father was a drug addict, and it was just this terrible, terrible existence. And it was great for this brief span that I had my stepdad, and then that was all taken away, which spiraled me into a whole thing of addiction and alcoholism and abusive toxic relationships. And I was like, what the fuck did I ever do to pick this existence? And I sit here now and I can honestly say it's because it made me the treated in Teflon survivor that I am. And to be able to speak to people about surviving. And I am not saying I've had the roughest existence, because I know there's people that have had it far worse than me, that their parents burnt them with cigarettes or like cut them with razor blades or whatever. But what I'm saying is each one of these terrible circumstances that I was exposed to was literally a horrible but very, very awakening lesson, because I wouldn't be able to help people understand the when they get them in an individual issue, like, hey, this person cheated on me. Great, I've had like 8 different partners that cheated on me. What do you want to talk about? Hey, this person hit me. Okay, who was it? Was it your wife? Was it your dad? Was it your mom? Let's talk. I can go through all of this. Oh, you have an addiction problem?
Right.
Let's wrap, because now I can help people. I had to go through a lifetime of shit so I could reach right now and help people.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
that's the truth.
Everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything happens for a reason. All the things that you've gone through, uh, you personally, it's all about, now it's all about helping other people. And you may not go through the same identical experiences, nobody ever does, uh, with another person. At the same time, we all have our own experiences that can be related and relatable to others as well. Like the experiences that you went through, partners cheating, you know, the way they were, uh, and I did too. That was all a part of the experience. Um, and also too, with your story, that is also the experiences that you had to help others that haven't been through those situations have a little more compassion. Do you get what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. It really, I never thought of myself as somebody that would talk to people every week and try to help others. Until I started understanding what was going on around me, I did have the victim mentality, that consciousness of poor me, my life's horrible. And when you realize that it's all just to help one another and compare notes and guide each other through this reality, then that's what all of this is for. That's what the contracts are for. That's what the trauma is for. That's what the karma is for. That's what all of this is for, is to be able to help one another, because we have to we have to compare notes and help each other to get through this, or it's the division that the ones that are in control of this simulation want, right? The parts of this reality that are truly evil, they don't want us to talk about this stuff. They don't want us to help each other. They don't want us to give each other spiritual advice or teach each other skills of manifestation or understanding of soul contracts or just about any damn thing I talk about every Friday night, because they don't want us to share the information that they have worked so vehemently to block us from.
Absolutely. And they do that because they're losing control. Like, hey, I'm going up on my Uber ride here and, I'm going to enjoy it and I'm going to have a lot of fun. And you can't stop me. I have no chains on my ankles. My wrists are not bound. And I am claiming my spiritual power, my self empowerment, and everything else, such as I'm raising my consciousness levels, my vibrations. Do that, and these lower energies, it be like a moth to the flame, where the moth will see the light and go to the light, and what happens when the light, poof, they're gone, right? They've gone
Yeah.
into the. So look at yourself as that flame, and the stronger your flame gets, control lower energies have over you. I think that's
I,
pretty simple way of looking at things.
oh, absolutely. And that goes into a whole other thing that I'm sure we can touch on, is the false light. And I guess you would call that, instead of the actual light, it'd be like the bug zapper, if we're going to use your moth analogy. You can go towards the light, that's that warm incandescent, or that condenscent light bulb that had the orange glow, and you can flutter around it, or you can go into the bug zapper and get right. Like, there's two ways to go about
Yeah,
it, I guess.
yeah, definitely. But I would like
uh
to talk a little about. Have I talked about agreements yet?
no, go, let her rip.
Okay. Okay, so there are always circumstances and situations that need to be learned, embraced, acknowledged, healed, and recognized as the lessons that you have chosen before you came into the physical realm. So these lessons are also called agreements that need to be completed. They need to be completed. Okay? So there are some things that have not been completed yet from other lives, and that's where it's carried over into this life. So that's where your carryover is. And choose uh, your parallel lives. Everything is running into one another. Like I said before, the past is now, the future is now, the here is now, right? Parallel lives are. So that all depends on your belief systems and your programming. So nothing in your life is random, accidental, or by chance. There is a reason for everything that happens in your life, and you need to ask yourself, what is the reason for this? Why did I choose this circumstance? You know, my my higher self, or whatever you want to call them, or monad, creator source, obviously helped me choose these things. So why did they choose them? What's the reason for this? What am I learning? What do I need to learn? Right? So we need to really delve into the heart of who we truly are.
Absolutely. And it just kind of made me think with these agreements, if we fight our contract now, like in this existence, and I know what happened with my own life when I fought against what I was supposed to be doing. If we fight against our contract now, will our lives become disruptive and chaotic?
Hmm. Well, let's see. That's not. No. Oh, we do have to get to signs and symbols too. So,
Yes.
we free will. Okay. So got a couple of things here. So with that, with your contracts, we all have to stop asking for permission, whether it be from others or whether it's a certain situation or circumstance, and start to remember our power. So awareness doesn't give you to your path, it does give you access to healing, to releasing, to rewriting your story from this forward. So you don't need to be perfect, and you don't need every answer to questions. So you need to be willing to live an awakened life. And that's where your true power comes from. So moving through life with grace, trusting your path, living consciously, having peace with the unknown, stop fighting or resisting situations, and start walking with integrity and impeccability, and noticing the changes and the shifts in your perception or perspective. Things, your clarity is contagious. Contagious. Sorry, a little stuffed up here. So that just means that as you heal yourself, that energy, the frequencies, and the vibrations all go to other people, and you affect other people into thinking, possibly they, like, oh, why is that person such a good mood? What are they doing? And then that to you to say, oh, what put you in such a good mood today? And it's just like, oh, well, you know what? A ladybug landed on my arm, and it's just wonderful.
And that is a great analogy because it's something I've thought of before too, is that it's strange in this reality, but emotional frequency or energetic projection is actually contagious, good or bad, right? Or even indifferent.
Yes.
It really does. It travels. It the analogy I used is like I'll hold the door for somebody at the grocery store. And it's like, yeah, I'm in a hurry too. But that moment that I stop, smile at the lady in front of me, and let her go ahead may be the positive effect that her entire day needed to not go home and yell at her children or argue with her husband, or even, she could have been having a terrible day and the smile made her feel better. I ain't saying this is that pretty, but like, sometimes it just takes a quick smile from somebody to go, okay, yeah, it's not that bad. And I do think that emotional frequency is highly, highly transferable and contagious.
Oh, absolutely. I agree 100% on that because, like when you're in a mood, like I remember, oh, years and years, like we're talking a long time ago, I was working in an office and I had to come through the back door, house was, and I'm walking along and I'm doing the little affirmation myself. Today is going to be a great day and we're going to, and I was going through a really nasty divorce at that time. So I was doing the positive affirmation thing. And I come around the corner and there was a couple of guys that were walking down the hall from the coffee room, and they stood and themselves back against the wall and went, "Oh, hi, hi," and they kind of quickly, slithered across the wall because I was in a bad mood, even though I was doing my best to lift myself. So yeah, energy is energy, and everybody can feel it.
Uh, Absolutely. Like I don't even remember who I was talking to the one show, but I referenced like those times when you walk into a room and you can I will use the male female example when you can tell like a woman or a man is like immediately attracted to you just by like the doe-eyed look they get on their face, and you can almost feel like a whoosh from like, oh, hello. Or you walk into the room and everybody, like the person in the room looks at you and it's just like, fuck that guy. You can literally feel that fuck that guy come off of the other person because it is energy projects and we receive. We are projectors and receivers of this reality. And it really does matter what you're putting out.
Yes, absolutely. And that's what makes us special. I mean, each and every being that's on this planet is special. We all have gifts. They're all different gifts, but at the same time, we all have certain attributes that are stronger than other attributes. Like, uh, what kind of example? Okay, so let me give Michelle as an example, for instance, where she can put somebody into a hypnotic state and get them um, to to channel, connect with their higher selves, or whatever it is, uh, whatever you want to call it. Where I myself, my hands start getting really hot, and I'm working with healing energies that flow to me and through me. They are not my energies. They're coming from source or creator, whomever you want to call it, the white light, the whatever. So that I open up to that. So they're both great modalities. At the same time, they're different, right? And that's what each of us is like. We all have our talents. Some are stronger than others. Some are just developed for you. Some have been around laying dormant for years, which is me. And but I own that, and I'm working on it. Everything is a process. There's a reason for everything that happens, and in that, there's processes, there's things that make your heart just go kaboom because you just love what you're doing. Doing this research on contracts, I was in my element because I got to do research on something that is important not just to me, but it's important to other people. And it helps me remember and helping you to remember as well that you're a part of this whole dynamic as well.
No, I absolutely agree because it is that connectivity that makes us all. Sometimes there's just not English words for what I'm trying to express, and I end up like stumbling through it. But there's a connectivity in all of us, and I understand what you're saying. Is I'm not going to try to ramble through it. Um, so one of the things you were just mentioning, and I think this is going to be relevant for a lot of people, is the signs and symbols of within the realities.
Oh,
And I'm getting
yes,
some thunder here
there
too.
are.
So William is not playing drums in the background. That is actually thunder. So
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, we had that here a little bit ago. So, yeah. So, signs and symbols, when you start paying attention to signs, symbols, synchronicities, and coincidences, that is your life aligning, which is very, and I didn't realize that until I was doing this research. So, seeing repeating numbers, a book falling off the shelf, dreams that mirror your life, these are all signposts for you, nudging you, telling you you're on the right track or possibly a little off the mark. So there again, it's your perception, your perspective on where these signs and symbols are going. And it's up to you to understand if these situations are vibration or not. You know, some situations raise your vibration, some situations don't. In your kind of what we call our waking world, we need to pay attention to these feelings, these urges, these uh, or feeling resistance to any situation. Like when you're walking towards a storm, are you going, oh, look at the clouds, oh, cool, and then you get struck by lightning? Or are you going to go, holy cow, look how dark those clouds are? You know what? I think I'll wait for this to pass. You know, it's your choice. It's your decision.
yeah,
Maybe that's part of your soul contract. Because I've known a couple of people in this life that have been struck by lightning a few times. And yeah, yeah,
I actually know one as
I
well, and
don't
it was
choose that.
yeah. He got struck in the most ridiculous way, but anyway. Um, uh, so
So,
from there,
anyways,
oh, go ahead.
oh, okay. Um, uh, Part of your transformation is how much you avoid a situation or you don't want to look at a certain circumstance. It will always loop and circle back to you. So the more you ignore this situation, the more it will be come into your face until you take responsibility and understand what really the lesson is about. So you need to face it, understand it, thank it, and complete it. This is about learning from your experiences that have come here to teach you. And once the lesson is learned, of course, then you get to move on your path. Your soul wants to know if there's alignment when things get hard. Will you walk the path even if it's unclear to you? Will you trust the pull if it doesn't make sense? Signs don't always show up as confirmation, they may show up as challenges that force your growth into becoming who you truly are. And your life has never been nor ever will be perfect. It will be full. So we all need to have that going through our brains, is that this life is never perfect. There is purpose. And that's what we got to keep holding on, because that's the reason for things that happen. Um, you're here to live your life, not to perform, and to allow things to happen naturally and not by force. You cannot force any situation to happen that is not of your vibration, is not of your alignment. So, by it's like being in a relationship where you have been saying, uh, I want to be with you all the time, and like every moment of your day, and you have the other person going, well, that doesn't work for me because I have things to do, places to go, people to see, work, you know. um, and then that other person says, well, you need to quit your job so you can stay home. You're forcing the situation, and that's not for your highest good or the other person's highest good. That's all about domination, all about control. So if you are forcing a situation that is not in your alignment, you're going to fall flat on your face. And yeah, I don't think that's the way you want to go. So
No.
um, when you're aligned and when you are balanced and the frequencies are all flowing, that's when you get the sense of peace, and then the chaos of it goes away. It has to.
Yeah. You touched on something at the beginning of that about the loops, how it goes around and around, and that actually really leads into one of the next subjects: is the inner work. How important is it for the progression of your contract and your soul to close those loops? And this isn't something I had written down. This, you just actually inspired this question, but it also leads into the inner work.
Well, with inner work, we all need to that we are always being taken care of. Help and guidance is always available to us, and all we do is ask. And when we do that, we need to go within and listen to the information that feels honest and in alignment. So when you do that, do you get chills? Is there ringing in your ears? Do your eyes kind of wobble? I mean, mine do. I can just be sitting there, and all of a sudden, it's like my eyes kind of squiggle back and forth. These are all signs for you to pay attention. Is the most powerful force, not and source of the universe. So with awareness, you can shift timelines with attention, and you can also dissolve any bonds that have been tied to you. With love and compassion, you can complete all the contracts that no longer align with who you are becoming. So as you raise your vibration, all those things that were of lower energy not beside you, or because you're raising your vibration. So let's say, hang on, I just need a sip of water here.
Yeah, I will have one from the thermos Ben gave me.
So let's say, yeah, there you go. I need. I'm running low on water. So let's say that you've made a vow in poverty, celibacy, or you chose a relationship that felt like destiny, and then only to find out that it drains your life force. and no longer fit in your current path. You can make a conscious decision to break that soul agreement. These are your moments of truth, and your soul is asking you to choose another avenue or path to go down. Your soul is asking for the transformation that requires for deeper inner work that is true within. Doing some meditations, shadow work is very important, like the dark night of the soul practices. There's practitioners that, from what I understand very well, how to go through that process safely and effectively. There's cutting cords, is doing inner child healing. Also, it's about speaking that you've buried for years and haven't spoken up because you don't want to hurt the other person's feelings, or for some reason you've just kept quiet. I know I fall into that category. And also, I think age has got something to do with it because, like I said in my book, uh, what page was that actually? Should have written this. But anyways, I had gone to an intuitive reader, and she said basically like when your life is, when you're born till the time you're 10. Oh, here it is on page 53. So from the time you are born until you're 10 years old, our families do our head in. From the time you are 11 till you're 20, education system does our head in. From the time you're 21 years old till the time you're 30, our friends do our head in. From the time you're 31 until you're 40, society does your head in. From the time you're 41 to 50, you do your head in. And from 51 onwards, you start getting it. And that's exactly what's happening in my personal life is I'm getting it, you know, and you got to let go of any guilt that you carry because you know what? Bottom line, it is not yours to own and it is not yours to carry. So that all that guilt that you've been carrying in this lifetime from past lifetimes, let it go. And there are people, practitioners that can help you with that. And if you can't find a practitioner that vibrates with you, search. We didn't have the internet 50 years ago, 40
Nope.
years ago. You couldn't do this stuff. You can now, so use it. AI is there for quite a few reasons, and it's your choice on whether you use it to be of benefit to you or not. So, there again, it's your choice.
I love your age breakdown, but I want to circle back to what Dolores said too, that you were mentioning off the top of the show, that absolutely makes sense for your generation. I've seen it in many people because I'm only a few years younger than you and Ben. And it seems like each generation is getting it sooner and sooner, right? Like that breakdown makes sense for yours and my generation because I'm in my late 40s. 2 years ago, shit started making sense, right? The generations in their
Yeah.
20s are understanding the same things that I'm just figuring out in my late 40s, right? And it's
Yeah. Well,
wild
that's
because an echo, like,
yeah. Well, see, we came down here. How I like to look at it, we came down here by say 747 or a 767. And if you look at the picture behind me, the kids nowadays, that's their Uber, how they're getting here. So it's a lot faster, it's a lot easier, and it's a lot more fun.
absolutely. Uh, So from there, I'd love to go into claiming your power, because I think that is the next important step after doing the inner work. Is you've started to identify your traumas, you're walking through them. How do you claim your power?
Ah. Well, claiming your power is your rites of passage that mark the point of your life where you stop living by an old script and writing your own new script. Like I said, where the actors, the screenwriters, the producers, the filmmaker, the music in the background, we are all that. So start claiming that, remembering that this is your play because it is your life, and you do not need permission from anyone ever, right? And that's been the dichotomy for hundreds of thousands of years. We have authorities that lie to us, and well, yeah, and experts, says, that have manipulated us, that have, you know, like being the magician. So the magician is showing you the left hand, but then you don't see what the right hand. This is where a lot of the confusion comes in. So if those games no longer fit your life, it's not your responsibility to give them permission to keep going. When is it going to end? When is it going to stop? Is it going to stop in this lifetime? Or do you want it to, let somebody else handle it? Well, you know what? Everybody's going to handle it the way they want to. And it only you can your thoughts, words, deeds, and actions that is going to make any benefit to your life, not to my life, not to anybody else's life. You have to do this for you. Is important. The universe begins to respond when you start claiming authority and, not giving out permission like candy at Halloween time. When your energies, your frequencies, and vibrations change, new opportunities will start to unfold. And so does your contract. So contracts are not written in stone, they are ever evolving as you evolve. So some of the most powerful experiences will come from breaking the agreements, and at that moment you realize that you didn't even know any better. Like the saying of our lives is, well, you know what, if I knew 20 years ago, today, things would be so different. Well, if you take it from the perspective that if you knew then what you know now, you wouldn't have gone through this.
Yeah.
Whatever that experience or situation or circumstance was. Thank you. So everything happens for a reason, right? So stop staying small for someone to feel bigger or stronger. Start speaking of staying silent and carrying the pain of others because you think it will heal their strife. These are not your stories. That's their stories. And you do not need to be bound to anybody's stories but your own. In stories, you have to figure out, why did this happen? What happened? Where do I go? We can talk about forgiveness right now. So when you begin to forgive yourself and others for the stories that have unfolded and that no longer fit into your life, or with the frequencies, you begin to close or stop being on the hamster wheel. Why? Because you have acknowledged them. Take the time to take a good look at the situation and now have chosen to forgive, let go, and move forward with gratitude for the experiences, and you begin to walk freely down your chosen path. This is huge. Everything is energy. Everything is about energy, frequency, vibration, letting go. And letting go is a huge one for a lot of us. You know, I'm different than anybody else. There are some situations that have happened or do happen in my life. I have a hard time letting go of. You know, I love these pair of shoes. I don't wear them 10 years, but I love them. I can't let them go. You know, just to make funny out of it. You
Yeah.
know, because to be adventurous, not so strict and so hard and so platformed. We need to have variety. Variety is the spice of life.
Oh, absolutely. And you actually already went into my next question about forgiveness. So, what I'm going to ask next, uh, does awareness of soul contracts bring about acceptance and empowerment? Because a lot of us just go through this blindly and have no idea that we've made these agreements or that we have control over changing them and like why our lives are so rough. Do you think that that brings about the acceptance and empowerment and being able to better navigate the contract and the reality?
Oh, absolutely. They definitely do. I mean, everything affects everything else, right? I mean, that's why we have the law of cause and effect. That is the one of the hermetic laws, right? You have to have cause in order to have an effect, and you have to have an effect in order to have a cause. So once we, with my understanding, with all this, the more we become aware, the more we open our eyes and our ears, and that's what it means um, to see with your eyes open and to hear with your ears open as well. It's all about your awareness, your perspective, or um, how you see things in life, how you choose to go through them. Do you choose to walk the road with as much ease and grace as possible, especially walking with, say, integrity and impeccability to the greatest amount that you can? I mean, moments happen where shit, this happened, and you kind of fall off the wagon a little bit. Okay, that happens. At the same time, noticing that, being aware of it, and being able to, um, how you say, get past that victim mentality, uh, the the emotional or mental abuse that we all put on ourselves, much less anybody else. I mean, putting that on everybody else is not very good either. At the same time, we are creatures of habit, and put down, we don't need anybody to do that for us. Like, you stub your toe, say, walking past the bedroom to the bathroom, or on a chair to wherever you're going, and fuck, why was I so stupid? Why did I do that? Like, that was such a stupid thing. That hurts, and you start out. Well, stop bitching yourself out and ask, why wasn't I paying attention to that? Then it wouldn't have happened, right?
Yeah,
Does it
it's the
make
simple
sense?
shift in awareness. Yeah, it's the simple shift in awareness. Um, can do you think that being aware of the soul contract can actually lead to spiritual bypassing, though?
Um, well, spiritual bypass is about people that they'll go from one modality to the next, from one person to the next person to the next person to the next person. And the only way that rings true to my heart in this description is basically somebody saying that, you know, well, I'm going to go to this card reader and hear what she has to say about my life. And then, pay them and walk away and go, yeah, no, she didn't tell me what I wanted to hear, so I'll never go back to her. Now I'm the next card reader. And then you go to the next card reader, and they pretty much say pretty much what the first person said, and a little bit more, possibly. And you pay them, and you go out the door. Nope, I didn't hear what I wanted to hear, so they are not a good card reader, and I won't go back to them again. So now I'm on to my third. Yes, exactly. Exactly. So do the monkey thing, right? And monkey, it's hear no evil, see no evil, and speak no evil, but there's no such thing as evil.
Yeah. But no, it's true. There's
Are you
that
laughing?
aspect.
Ben's
There.
laughing in the background here.
Oh, I love Ben. Um, no, there is a definite. There's people finding loopholes, and the spiritual bypassing is huge in this community. Um, we have covered most of what we had written down for subject matter. Is there anything else you wanted to say before we close out here? Because I do have a statement for the end of it, but I know you put weeks of research into this, and I don't want to leave you short on any of this. So if you have something, just
Oh,
let her.
okay. Well, on spiritual bypassing too, in my notes, I have bypassing occurs when people lose the belief that relationships or hardships were predestined to avoid dealing with the real world emotional pain. Instead of processing grief and anger or trauma, individuals may dismiss their feelings as a part of a pre-plan, which can be led to emotional separation or suppression. So as you can see here, oh, maybe not. You can't. Nope, it's not green. And so when you feel resistance to a situation, pay attention. When you feel anything that's coming up, whether it feels good, whether it feels not so good, whatever you're feeling, be honest with yourself. That's the best thing that you can do. And with, we all have contracts. There are some that will be lifelong, depending on your awareness, your vibrations, your contract levels. There's some that will only be a contract for a short time. Sometimes it's people that walk into your life and walk out of your life within, say, a couple of years. That's a short contract, and that's a contract that you hold with them. So it's not just one big massive contract. You've got contracts that go with other people, like um, in Ben's session with Michelle. He was saying that, and I really wished it was really well the microphone, but it didn't. But he was saying that, there's soulmate. There are what were they? Soulmates and I got the other word. Twin flames. Right. And so Michelle was asking, is it, like what is a twin soul or soul flame and what have you, and or soulmate. Sorry, I'm trying to do two things at once. Um, which can be a little disturbing sometimes. Uh, so when you have twin flames, her and I are twin flame, meaning that we pretty much come from like the same family, same soul group, and we're kind of attached at the hip where, we've spent many lifetimes together, um, exploring different things, different avenues, different understandings, and then Ben and I are. Is that the right one? Was that the right term for? No, you got it backwards. I got it backwards. So we're what soul? What? You and I are twins, and you and her soul. Oh, her and I are soul mates, and Ben and I are twin flames. That's right. That's right. Okay, now we got it right.
That makes sense. Actually, I do believe there's an interconnectivity throughout realities that, given my scientific understanding that we are all energy and information, even on a biomolecular cellular level, right? We absolutely will resonate towards things of like frequency. So it doesn't matter if it's this density, this realm, this whatever, you're going to resonate back to this things of the same energy and frequency because that's our current understanding of reality. So it absolutely makes sense that we're drawn to particular beings and individuals throughout experiences. No, I love it.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just quickly gleaning notes here because I have this feeling within me that there's something that I've missed. I don't know what it is, and I bet when we get offline, it'll go poof right there. Oh, right. Okay. Sorry, forgot.
Oh, I swear, and I've been told multiple times that I should just keep the recording going when I get off air. I have had like hour to 2 hour long conversations with guests after that were probably more helpful than the show itself, right? Because then you start getting real. Like I'm not going to give examples right now, but like I've had hour long conversations with guests after the show that were more meaningful than the freaking show. And Kyla will be sitting there going, "Why didn't you record that?" And that happens all the time. So I fully expect it to happen.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And also, too, I would like to say, with the soul contracts, this I gotta talk about the soul here. So I did a little bit and went off topic and what have you. So in this life, let's say inexplicable fear of abandonment, and that fear pulls you towards certain people and you start feeling love getting close to you and you end up pushing them away. Why does this happen? It's because this might be some past life wound that is bleeding into your present lifetime that needs to be healed. All healings need to be met head on, and you can do this by asking the question, where is my soul wanting to complete this experience? Instead of avoiding the pain, playing the victim, or being in the poor me syndrome place. Another example is the ones that have hurt you the most, who betrayed you, maybe even abused you, roles that your soul had to in the name of love and growth. And this is a challenge for many people to understand because when I read this, I thought, what? Huh? What are you talking about? You see it from this perspective. The soul does not seek comfort, the soul seeks growth and expansion. So remember the saying, what doesn't break you makes you stronger. And to me, that now makes more sense. So your soul wants to complete lessons. So instead of saying, why do these things always happen to me? Within and start asking, what does my soul want to understand and complete in this situation? Everything happens to you, for you, by you, and the soul's perspective. So you are here to stop blaming fate or yourself or others. By claiming responsibility and recognizing the situation is assisting you with reclaiming your personal power. You no longer need to be the victim of randomness. You are empowering yourself. And that's where we all need to be with our awareness, with our challenges, our strifes, our struggles. Everything is there for a purpose. Reclaim our sovereignty to be the spark of light that we are.
That was I, that's beautifully worded, and I I actually timed it right, and you went perfectly. The dogs were barking. I had to mute because Kyla was coming in, so you just wrapped that up at the exact right second. But no, that was an excellent description of everything we've been going through. And before we do take off, I want to do a shameless promotion. You guys all need to go get her book, What If, because you could literally sit and read what ifs for hours and hours and hours. So do you want to tell everybody where to get What If?
Absolutely. It's available on Amazon. So you can CA or Amazon.com if you have if you're from the United States. It is available. All you have to do is in the description just type in "What If" by Joy Child, and my book will pop up. A pretty little cover. Uh, can you see that?
I know, green screen, right?
I think they can see yours better. Yep.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, and it's been it's been a very interesting couple of hours, and my throat gets sore. That we're not going on for 3 hours because, uh, yeah, it would be a little just laughing down the hallway, going, "Yeah,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah, you
We
have
all,
huskies at home." Getting husky.
yeah. Oh, and
Hmm?
like we all get these brain ideas coming through, and it's like I could talk about this for hours, and then the body shows you the limitations of the vocal cords, and it's like fuck you can. And I get it. There's been times where I've had to like close out shows because I'm like, yeah, I can't do this anymore because it just went on that long. So I get it. Uh,
Right.
I do have
Yeah.
a
Also,
long-winded
too, I'd like
explanation.
to mention that.
Go ahead.
What was that?
No, go ahead.
Oh, I do have. Uh, I'm looking at doing this program and help are looking at revoking their old vows and also drafting new contracts, if that is of any interest to anybody. And they can email me at joychild369@gmail.com if you're interested. I'm not charging anything for this. Um, you have to be ready to do this. And you have to have it in your heart and in your brain and in your gut to want to do the inner work that needs to be done wholeheartedly to out of the old dynamic of the old contracts and start developing contracts. And
I
the prerequisite is you have to do your inner work. That is, it is mandatory. You can't just go into things in these situations thinking that, oh, everything is hunky dunky and wild roses, and I can just do this and do that. What you may possibly end up doing is self sabotage and making your evolution and process longer than what it needs, and painful too in the long run. So, um, woo woo woo, we got it.
Um, I absolutely love that. And I will include, well, I'll edit the description to add in your email. And that is a very generous offer um, for you to put that on for people and help them through this. Uh, this is the part where I'm going to have a very long winded closing on this because, this is a very big subject. And I hope the information that we've brought forward is useful to people and helps people better understand the subject of soul contracts. But with all that being said, your soul has been playing in assigned parts like the fixer, the peacemaker, or the one who carries everyone else's pain, often without realizing it. These are unconscious contracts passed down through generations that keep pulling us back into the same cycles of repair and responsibility. Releasing these contracts doesn't mean you're abandoning the love or even the person or becoming cold. It means understanding that not everything is yours to fix or complete. As attachments to material things, achievements, even marriages, bloodlines, and the need to be remembered loosen, you may feel a profound homesickness for a place you can't quite name. This isn't desperation or crisis, it's readiness. In the end, souls that complete their contracts and break the reincarnation cycle step into something beyond what we carefully see from here, or sorry, can fully see from here. You've done the work, you've remembered enough, and yes, it's time to release. Trust the journey home. And that's where I would leave the entire issue of soul contracts.
Well, that was beautiful.
Thank you. Uh, so, again, I want to thank everybody for watching and listening at home. And if you're listening on this on audio in the future on the Forbidden Knowledge Network, I appreciate you. And like I always say, if you can, please do go outside because it's a lot better than sitting in front of this screen. And I love you guys.
Bye.